December 5th, 1945. The war was over. America had won. And for the men of Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, it was just another training day. 5 Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers lifted off the runway and banked east over the Atlantic Ocean. Their mission, a routine navigation exercise, called Navigation Problem Number 1. 2 hours out, a mock bombing run, then home. No one suspected anything was wrong. Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a sprawling complex of hangars, runways, and barracks built to train the next generation of naval aviators. World War II had ended just months before, but the Navy's training machine kept turning. That morning, Flight 19 assembled on the tarmac. 5 aircraft, 14 men. Leading them was Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, an experienced pilot with over 2,500 hours of flight time. Behind him, Captain Edward Powers, Captain George Stivers, Second Lieutenant Forrest Gerber, Ensign Joseph Bossi. They were good men, trained men, men who had served their country and survived a world war. They would not survive this day. The mission plan was simple. Flight 19 would depart Fort Lauderdale, fly 160 miles due east to a bombing range near the Bahamas, then north, then southwest, back to base. A triangle, in and out. On paper, it was textbook. They had flown routes like this dozens of times. But the Atlantic doesn't care about paper. Just after 2 in the afternoon, the first sign that something was wrong. Lieutenant Taylor's compass began behaving strangely, then his backup, both giving conflicting readings. In a world before GPS, before satellite navigation, a compass was everything. Without it, a pilot over open ocean had nothing but the sun, the horizon, and his own best guess. Taylor radioed back to base. "Both my compasses are out. I am trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida." But he wasn't where he thought he was. By mid-afternoon, the weather had turned. Clouds thickened on the horizon, the kind that swallow aircraft whole. The Atlantic below churned from blue to steel gray. Visibility dropped. And still, Flight 19 pressed on. Taylor believed he was over the Florida Keys, southeast of Miami. He was wrong. Evidence suggests he was northeast of the Bahamas, the opposite direction from home. Every mile he flew was taking his men farther from safety. Then came the transmission that chilled every operator who heard it. "We don't know where we are. The sea doesn't look as it should." 14 men, 5 aircraft, somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean. Lost. What happened next has been reconstructed from recorded radio transmissions, fragments of a disaster unfolding in real time. Taylor ordered the flight northeast, then north, then changed course again. Each decision, made without working navigation instruments, took the 5 Avengers deeper into the Atlantic. The flight path tells a terrible story, a slow, spiraling drift, away from land, away from fuel, away from any hope of rescue. Inside the cockpits, tension was rising. Other pilots in the flight began questioning Taylor's headings. Radio chatter between the aircraft grew urgent. If we would just fly west, we would get home. Taylor heard them, but he held course. He was convinced they were over the Gulf of Mexico, that flying west would take them further out to sea. He was wrong, and in the gathering darkness, there was no way to know it. The sun began its descent toward the horizon. In the cockpits of 5 Avengers, fuel gauges told a story no pilot wants to read. Each TBM carried enough fuel for roughly 6 hours of flight. They had been airborne for nearly 5. The window was closing, and still, no landmarks, no coastline, no base, only ocean in every direction. At approximately 7:04 in the evening, the last clearly intelligible transmission from Lieutenant Taylor. All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. And then, one final message that has haunted investigators for nearly 80 years. It looks like we are entering white water. The transmission ended. After 7:45 p.m., radio operators at Fort Lauderdale called. And called again. Nothing. 5 aircraft, 14 men, gone. The Navy did not wait until morning. Within hours of losing contact with Flight 19, a Martin TBM Mariner, a massive search and rescue flying boat, lifted off from Naval Air Station Banana River. Its crew, 13 men. Their mission, find Flight 19. Trainer 49 climbed into the night sky and headed northeast, into the same darkness that had swallowed the 5 Avengers. 23 minutes after takeoff, the Mariner disappeared from radar. It was never heard from again. 2 ships in the area reported seeing a ball of fire in the sky that night, consistent with a mid-air explosion. The Navy concluded the Mariner likely suffered a catastrophic fuel ignition. Likely. But no wreckage was ever found. No bodies, no debris. 6 aircraft, 27 men. What followed was one of the largest air and sea search operations in American history. Over the following weeks, hundreds of aircraft and ships combed more than 200,000 square miles of ocean. They found nothing. Not a seat cushion, not a fuel slick. Not a single piece of debris conclusively linked to Flight 19. 27 men, gone without a trace. In the decades since, investigators, historians, and researchers have proposed every conceivable explanation. Some point to navigation error. Lieutenant Taylor's misidentification of the Bahamas as the Florida Keys set the flight on a fatal northeast course away from land. Others cite compass malfunction. Both of Taylor's compasses failed, leaving him blind over open ocean. Fuel exhaustion is considered the most probable outcome. The aircraft, flying far beyond their planned route, simply ran out of fuel and ditched into rough seas. In the Atlantic, at night, in storm conditions, a ditched Avenger would sink in under 60 seconds. And then, there is the theory that refuses to die, the Bermuda Triangle. Scientists and the U.S. Coast Guard have long rejected supernatural explanations. But the triangle endures, because no single explanation has ever fully closed this case. The Navy's official verdict? Cause? Unknown. Today, the Atlantic Ocean keeps its secrets. Nearly 80 years have passed since 5 Avengers lifted off from Fort Lauderdale on a clear December morning. 14 men, pilots, gunners, radio men, gone before nightfall. The names, Taylor, Powers, Gerber, Bossy, Stivers, and 9 more, are carved into memorials, remembered every December 5th. But no confirmed wreckage has ever fully solved the mystery. The sea does not give back what it takes. Flight 19 continues to raise questions that may never be answered. What do you think happened? Leave your theory in the comments below. And if you believe some stories were never meant to stay hidden, subscribe to the Untold Stories, because the truth is still out there. Somewhere.